education. So so we have compiled it all together for the benefit of each and every one of you to gain insights into what it entails or requires for you to study in the UK, and what are the various courses, the eligibility criterias, the entry requirements when it comes to UK education. So before we start, a small round of introduction. So my name is Rajan Bhatia. I currently head the admission counseling business of Jamboree. So I have done my bachelor's and MBA from UK itself. So bachelor's from University of Bradford and master MBA from University of London. So, and have been working in this industry for past 16 years now, and have been able to guide so many students in various countries to realize their dream of a good education. So that is about me. And with me today, I also am joined by some of our panelist members who will speak to you over this course of the presentation to talk to you, interact with you, solve any of your queries that you may have. So I will like each and every panelist to come and introduce themselves. So maybe we can start with Sharmishta. So Sharmishta, you can come and introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us here today. I hope my voice is audible. Okay, all right, thank you. Yeah, so I work with the undergrad team at Jamboree. I've been working with Jamboree for the past 2 years now. I've handled close to 200 students, and I hope to answer all your questions today. And I hope to impart whatever knowledge I have regarding UK with all of you today.
Thank you, Sharmishta. Sharmishta works in the undergraduate section of Jamboree. So she works with undergraduate applicants. So then we have Nidhi. So Nidhi, if you can come and introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, I'm Nidhi, and about my background. So I have completed my bachelor's and master's in business from Delhi itself, and post that have been in the education industry for quite a long time now. And with Jamboree, I majorly handle the master's cases. So I think that's about it, and we look forward to having an interactive session with you all. Thank you for joining.
Nidhi, Nidhi handles works in the masters admissions of Jamboree, and has worked with a lot of masters applicants to various countries. So thanks, Nidhi. And then we have Dev Jyoti. So Dev Jyoti, if you can introduce yourself.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So this is Dev Jyoti, and I look after the Alliance admissions in Jamboree from the past 2 years. Thank you all for being here today and having this session. So I hope it would be an interactive session for all of you, and we can help you out here. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dev Jyoti. So Dev Jyoti works with under the admissions department, and works with various universities in different countries: US, UK, Canada, Ireland, etc. So she's there to talk about her experience and solving your doubts. So thanks, Dev Jyoti. So just to set some ground rules. So what we will do is we will continue our presentation, and in between we will take some pauses, and we will try to talk to you on your queries, and feel free. We will give you mic access to speak on your queries, and then we will take them on an individual basis. So I would request not to type anything in the chat box, because to maintain smooth flow of the presentation, and we will have enough time in the end to do the question and answer session. So a final mic check. So am I audible to everyone? Are you able to view my screen? Okay, thank you. So we'll start now. So just to first of all, just to tell you how the course of presentation or what we'll be covering. So we will first of all speak about why UK is a very good destination for students to study a good education. Then we will talk separately about undergraduate. Then we will cover the master's segment, and then we will also take time out to talk about the MBA requirements in the UK by various universities. And finally, we will also talk about the post-study work permit laws that the UK has currently for international students. So just to no, just to tell you, just to give you a sense of the geography of the country. So United Kingdom in itself is composed of 4 countries. So which is England, with the capital being London. Then we have Scotland, with the capital of Scotland being the Edinburgh. Then we have the Wales. The capital of Wales is Cardiff, and then we have Northern Ireland. So the capital of which is Belfast. So a lot of students try to confuse Ireland with Northern Ireland. So just to tell you, Ireland is a separate country altogether in the European Union, and it is the Northern Ireland only which is a part of the UK. So you should not confuse Ireland with Northern Ireland, because these are 2 separate countries altogether. So this is how the geography of UK is spread into 4 countries: England, Northern Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. So why a lot of students want to study in UK? What are the some of the advantages that UK pose as an education system? So first of all, worldwide recognition, because as you know, the degrees and the qualifications from these UK universities are recognized a lot by employers all around the world. So UK also is also hosting some of the top and oldest universities in the world, with the likes of Oxford, Cambridge, London Business School, London School of Economics, University College London, King's College London, Imperial College London, University of Manchester. So these are some of the top names in the world which are recognized all around the world, and these also feature in the rankings, in the global rankings of all types of rankings. They feature in top section of the universities. So that's why the degree from UK is recognized globally. The cost of education is quite lower. Why? Because a cost of education for an international student in the UK is lower compared to countries like US and others. Why? Because first of all, the degree duration is less. So the undergraduate degree duration in the UK is for 3 years. And whereas the master's and MBA course duration is around 1 year. So students save both in terms of the living expenses and the cost. And they also save a lot of money, because a degree, you can complete an undergraduate or a master's degree in less time in the UK than in any other country. So lower education cost. A lot of work opportunities for students. So being an international student, you can work for 20 hours per week part-time during studies. And you can also work full-time, like 40 hours a week during holidays. So all your Christmas and New Year holidays, as an international student, you can work for 40 hours a week. And during the normal part-time options for students is to work around 20 hours per week, and you easily earn around 11 to 12 pounds an hour. So which roughly calculates to around 250 pounds in a week. And you can roughly earn around 800 to 1,000 pounds in a month, and can easily take care of your living expenses while you are studying in the UK. UK also is a very good gateway to Europe, because Europe is easy access from UK than ever. So one can reach to most of the areas in Europe from UK within a few hours by train or direct flight. So just to give you some example, if you want to go from London to Paris, so there is a Eurostar which takes just 3-4 hours, and within 3-4 hours you connect from London to Paris in just 4 hours time. And most of the other countries in the Europe are easily accessible from UK, either by train or direct flight, where you can reach within a few hours. Lot of courses to choose from. So there are more than 120 universities to choose from, and broad spectrum of subjects are available to choose, right from management, engineering, computer science, biology, biotechnology, management, finance, economics, international relations, biomedical engineering, physiotherapy, law. So all kinds of different courses are available in the UK to choose from, and there is a wide whole spectrum of universities which you can choose while studying in the UK. So these are some of the benefits that the UK education system proposes to the students. So now we will look at each education system one by one. So let us start with the undergraduate education. How does the undergraduate education in the UK looks like? So the criteria for admissions in undergraduate education in the UK is primarily based on class 10th marks and class 12th predicted scores. So your 9th and 11th, even if you have not done well in class 9th and 11th, does not matter, because they will not look at those scores. So it's mostly the scores that you obtain in class 10th, and the class 12 predicted scores generally go to the UK universities. And once you present the class 12 predicted scores, so a lot of UK universities will give you conditional offers. And once you provide the final CBSE marks or your final marks from other boards, so then the conditional offer is changed to an unconditional offer, post which you can then apply for your visa. So you cannot apply for your visa unless your offer is unconditional. So you have to wait for the visa application till the time you have an unconfirmed, you have an unconditional offer from the university of your choice. Apart from that, you also have to take English proficiency exams. So the IELTS, the minimum score expected for undergraduate in IELTS is 6.5 bands, with no band less than 6. But some of the top schools like Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial, Manchester, etc., they prefer an overall score of 7 bands with IELTS with no band less than 6. And some of the top schools like Oxford, Cambridge also require some additional exams like the UK MAT, PAT, etc. for bachelor's in computer science, economics and engineering. So you need to check the websites of both Oxford and Cambridge carefully, because the test requirement changes on basis of the program you select to study. So if you are applying for these universities, always look for what tests each individual course at Oxford and Cambridge requires. As far as the application procedure is concerned for undergraduate in the UK, so there is one common application portal called UCAS. So UCAS is the portal through which you apply for undergraduate to all the UK universities. So you can apply to a maximum of only 5 schools in the UCAS application. It's a single application. The documents required to apply in the UCAS are your class 12th marks and your class 12th predicted marks. There is a statement of purpose called the UCAS statement, which is of 4,000 characters. Then you have to submit 1 letter of recommendation for the UK universities, and there is an application fee of £21. So these are the only 4 documents which are required for you to apply for an undergraduate education in UK. Apart from that, there is no requirement of any other scores of SAT, ACT, etc., because they are not required by the UK education system for giving you an admission for the undergraduate in the UK. So UCAS is a common application portal, the full form of which is University's Common Application System. So that is a portal where you can search all the programs offered at the UK undergraduate level. Plus you can also apply and also track the status of your applications once you have applied through the UCAS portal. I've also compiled some of the entry requirements for you. So for Oxford and Cambridge, you have to have around grade A1 in your relevant subjects for the course you want to apply for. London School of Economics requires an overall average of 90% across 5 subjects. Imperial College London requires around 92% overall with at least 95% in maths and at least 95% and 90% in other 2 subjects. Durham requires an average score of 90% in best of 4. Edinburgh requires an overall score of 80% with at least 75% in English. Manchester requires an overall grade of 70% or higher with a minimum of 75% in mathematics and 65% in English. Warwick requires a percentage of 90% and above. And UCL requires a score of around 95% in your 10th and 12th as far as the admissions is concerned for the undergraduate education. The tuition fees for the undergraduate education in UK ranges between £20,000 to £25,000 depending on the university and the program you want to study. And the living cost ranges between £10,000 to £13,000 a year depending on the location. So for example, if you are studying outside London, so the living cost is around £10,000. But if you are studying inside London, so the living cost ranges between £12,000 to £13,000 a year. And very important to note, for undergraduate in the UK, there is only one intake, which is September. So there is no January intake as far as the undergraduate education is concerned in the UK. And the deadline, especially for Oxford and Cambridge is October 15th. So for example, if you want to apply in September 21, so deadline for Oxford, Cambridge will be 15th October 2020. And the next deadline, and that's the only deadline for Oxford and Cambridge, and for other universities, the deadlines are on 15th of January of 2021. And the universities continue to accept applications till 30th June 2021. But I don't suggest you to apply till 30th of June 21, because then you will have very minimum number of universities to apply and very limited seats available at your disposal. So that is about the undergraduate education in the UK. So what I'll do, I'll pause here for a minute and know if anyone has any questions related to undergrad. So I can give you that option to ask that question. So Cavalier, you can ask your question. You can unmute yourself. Cavalier.
Is SAT not considered anywhere at all?
No, ma'am. The undergrad in UK does not require the SAT scores.
Okay.
So Rojal, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Sir, I was asking, sir, like if we have the criteria for scholarship for international students abroad in UK.
Okay. So Sharmishta, you would like to take that question of scholarships in UK for undergraduate?
Yes, sir, sure. So Rojal, again, the scholarships are based on your school scores, the class 10 scores that you will be submitting, and how effective your personal statement is. So the scholarships will also be based on these criteria only. Also, please note that scholarships, the scholarship amount is not that much in the UK. And scholarships are very, very competitive.
All right. So I was also asking, like, is it possible for an international student to actually go over there, get into a college and then work and then manage your educational expenditures?
Yes, you can work part-time in the UK. That is an option.
I mean, does the earning fulfill the educational expenditure which is required over there?
I think the part-time, the whatever you will earn from your part-time job, that will cover the living expenses, but I don't think it will be able to cover the tuition fee.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So Prashant, you can ask your question. Prashant.
Yeah, Rajan. So one question I have is, after the undergrad, in US, you need to have a H1 visa and so on. And then sometimes there's a practical training of few years. So what happens in UK?
Yeah, Prashant. So in UK, whatever, if you do an undergraduate degree, so you get a 2-year post-study work permit. So starting from students who go to UK from September 2020 onwards, so you are eligible for a 2-year post-study work permit. And during the 2-year post-study work permit, if you get a job, so then the employer sponsors you for the next 5 years.
Okay, thank you. And then it can be extended other 5 years after that, or again?
Yeah. It can be extended, and then after 10 years, you can start applying for the UK passport.
Understood. Thank you.
So Karamjeet Kaur, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes, sir. I want to study in the UK, and I have done MSc IT already. And how much band scores are eligible for UK study?
So Karamjeet, we will come to the postgraduate section. So right now we are taking question for undergraduate section. So your questions will be answered in the postgraduate. So we'll cover that in the postgraduate section.
Okay. Thank you.
So Tanya, you can ask your question.
Yeah, basically you talked about it being UK being accessible from the rest of the to the rest of the Europe also, but after Brexit happens, because I know a lot of these colleges offer you to say 1 year in UK and you can do a second year somewhere else in Europe, right? So once Brexit and things like this happen, that will have any kind of impact on the ease of movement between UK and the rest of Europe?
So Tanya, so the movement still will be open. So it's just that you need to find a job in that nation and then you can travel. But the ease of doing an education in UK, it makes it easier for you to approach the employers in other parts of these countries. And once you find the employer is ready to sponsor you, so then you can move around.
Okay, okay, got it.
So Ashik, you can ask your question. Ashik?
Yes, I wanted to ask that is the chances of getting a scholarship more in the United States than in comparison to the United Kingdom?
So Sharmishta?
Yes, sir. Yes, Aishik, you're right. The chances of getting a scholarship in the United States are higher than getting a scholarship from the UK universities.
Okay, so if you compare universities like almost of the same ranking category, so is the general cost of as you already said that UK courses are for 3 years, while in USA it could be like 3.5 or 4 years. So without a scholarship, if we compare the total cost, what do you think that of universities of same range, will it be lesser in the United States or the United Kingdom?
The cost of attendance of the universities of similar ranking in the US will be higher. Also because it's a 4-year program, and otherwise also the cost of attendance is slightly higher in the US.
Oh, that's what I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Sana, you can ask your question.
Hello.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to ask that I'm interested in designing field. So would you suggest me some universities which are best in UK?
Okay. So so Sana, there are a lot of good design schools in UK, like for example, University of Arts London, then University of Creative Arts London, and there are a couple of more. So these are very good design courses, as far as the design courses are concerned. So these are some of the good options which have good design options for you.
Okay, thank you.
So Sharmishta, there's a question in the chat box that, so what about the IGCSE scores, or what is the minimum IGCSE requirements for UK?
I think for the top universities, A grade should be the competitive requirement for the top universities like Oxford, Cambridge, and Manchester, and all these universities.
Okay. So Olipriya, question that what is the maximum number of LORs that can be submitted? So LORs only in UK is only one required. So you don't have to submit a lot of LORs. So only one LOR is required in the UCAS application, and that should be enough. Okay. So we have a question from Praveen. So Praveen is asking, is BSc CS is better in UK or US? And from this perspective of having security of not being kicked out if you go and get a job in 60 days. So Praveen, you still have 2 years in the UK to search a job. So you have still 2 full years at your disposal to complete your job search. And then, 2 years is a sufficient period of time, which you get for searching a job in the UK. Okay, so now we will move ahead with the presentation.
Okay, say for a computer science undergrad degree, will it be better in the United Kingdom, or the USA?
So who's this?
I'm Aishik.
Okay. So Aishik, again, it depends on the criteria that you look for. See, if UK obviously is, US always has been the technology capital of the world, and it has always given you that edge. But schools in UK also, premier schools, like if you go do it from top 20 schools, so they provide you a good education, and you also cover it in 1 year lesser time, and you also get a 2-year full study work permit. So if from that point of view, again, US will have that criteria of you getting selected in the lottery. But the advantage of US is that you have 3 years STEM OPT option to to figure out in the lottery for at least 3 times.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay, so now we'll move on. So as far as the postgraduate education is concerned in the UK, so most of the duration of the program at master's level is even master's or MBA is 1 year. And the focus in terms of selecting the university or candidate for an admission totally relies on the marks or percentage he scores in his bachelor's degree. For highly ranked universities, the students need to have at least a 65 to 70% in their bachelor's degree. For middle ranked universities, students need to have a 55% to 65%, depending on which university they want to go for. And for low ranked universities, students need to have at least a 50% and above. So just to give you some examples, for highly ranked universities like King's College London, University College London, Imperial, Warwick, Manchester, Cranfield. So these are some highly ranked universities. So middle ranked universities, for example, your Liverpool, Leeds, Exeter, Sussex, University of Essex. So these are some of the middle ranked universities, and some of the low ranked universities in the UK, to give you some names, like University of Coventry, Greenwich, Cardiff Metropolitan University, Leeds Beckett University, University of Bedfordshire. So these are some of the low ranked universities for which students need to have at least a 50% and above in their bachelor's degree. As far as the IELTS requirement for master's programs is concerned, it ranges between 6 to 6.5, where top universities even will go till 7 bands, but the middle ranked universities would require a 6.5 band with no band less than 6, and some of the lower ranked universities will require an overall band score of 6 bands with no band less than 5.5, depending on which course you want to study and the university where you want to study your master's degree from. Again, as far as the application requirements are concerned, so it is a bachelor's degree, which as per the percentage you choose which university you will want to apply. Then the IELTS score, which is required. You only have to submit one SOP as far as the master's education is concerned, while some of the top universities like Oxford, Cambridge, and London Business School, etc., especially for the MBA program, they have essay questions. So the SOP does not work there. So they have detailed 2 to 3 essay questions for each university. Then either MS or MBA, you have to submit 2 letters of recommendations. So for masters, it is mostly academic letter of recommendations, which are required to be submitted by the students to universities. And for MBA program, because most of the MBA programs in UK require minimum 3 years of work experience for you. So you have to submit 2 professional letter of recommendations. So your normal academic LORs would not work for the MBA program. So it is mostly professional LORs that you need to submit to the universities for your MBA education. Then you have to have a passport copy, a detailed 1 to 1.5 page resume for the universities. And as opposed to the undergraduate education in UK, where everything was only through a common application portal called UCAS, here in the UK universities, every university have their own application portal from which you have to apply separately to each university in detail. So there is no common application portal as far as the masters and MBA applications are concerned in UK universities. So you have to apply on an individual basis to each university as far as the master's degree is concerned. Some of the popular courses in UK are your MS in computer science, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, very popular management programs in the UK, masters in finance, masters in international business, masters in data science, data analytics, and even masters in biotechnology, biology, biomedical engineering. So these are some of the top or popular MS courses which are available in the UK to choose from. So just to give you some entry requirements for MIM. So these are some of the top MIM programs in the UK. So for your reference, I've mentioned the undergraduate percentage requirement which these schools have, especially because MIM right now is a lot of popular program among Indian students, which you can directly study immediately after your graduation. You don't have to have work experience for applying for MIM program. So these are the undergraduate percentages for MIM for each university. I've also mentioned the GMAT, GRE requirements for those universities and the intake. So as you see, most of the MIM programs are available in the fall intake, which is the September intake in the UK. So for example, a London Business School would require a GMAT of average 700 or a GRE of 325 plus with 75% and above in your bachelor's degree. And Imperial College will again require a 75% or a CGPA of 8.5 out of 10 with the GMAT not mandatory but strongly recommended. London School of Economics again 75% and above with a GMAT of average 650 with a minimum GMAT of 650 plus. UCL again a 70% or a 7.75 CGPA with the GMAT strongly recommended. And a lot of other schools like Manchester, King's College, Edinburgh, Birmingham, Cranfield, Leeds, Cardiff, Exeter, Lancaster, Nottingham, Strathclyde, Durham do not require GMAT. So GMAT is not required in these universities. So it's mostly purely the admission is based on your percentage that you obtain in the bachelor's degree. And this is a slide where also I have mentioned some of the top MBA options in the UK. So for example, for London Business School, the average GMAT is 710 plus with 2 years of minimum work experience. University of Cambridge Judge Business School requires a GMAT of 700 plus again with at least 3 years of experience by the start of the program. So most of the schools in the UK require at least 3 years of work experience because most of the UK MBAs are of 1 year duration apart from London Business School because the MBA at London Business School ranges between 15 to 21 months. So apart from, so some people wanted to see the previous screen. So I'm switching back to the previous screen for a while. So these are some of the MIM options with scores for your reference. And then University of because most of the schools, it's a 1 year MBA. So they prefer people because it's a 1 year fast paced MBA in the UK. So they require at least 3 years of work experience for from the individuals. And the University of Oxford said, you know, the average GMAT is 700 plus with the Imperial at 670, Warwick at 660, Manchester at a 650 plus, and other schools like Durham, City University Cass Business School, University of Bath at 600 plus GMAT score as an entry requirement for the MBA program. And most of these schools have only one intake for the MBA, which is a September intake. So again, for the MBA or the masters, most of the UK schools have only September intake. For very, very few schools in the UK have a January intake. So, so if you have the option of applying to 100 schools for MS or MBA in the UK, so hardly you will get around 10 to 15 schools only, which will be offering MS courses in the January intake also. But majority of the top MBA or the decent MBA schools in the UK have only one intake, which is the September intake. And the average cost of doing a master's degree in the UK is around 28 to 30 lakhs per year, tuition plus living. So most of the MS degrees are 1 year duration. So the cost is 28 to 30. And for the benefit of the others, as some of you asked about the GRE. So GRE is not required for MS in the UK. So it's only for the MIM programs where the GMAT or GRE is required. But most of the UK schools do not require the GRE for the MS programs. It is only London School of Economics which requires GRE for some programs like economics, etc. But overall, all in all, the GRE is not a requirement for applying for the master's degree in the UK. So as I mentioned that most of the schools which are available in UK require work experience for MBA, but there are some schools which do not require work experience or GMAT for the MBA in UK. So these are some of the schools for your reference. So we have the Kingston University, Cardiff Metropolitan University, Coventry University, Leeds Beckett University, University of Bedfordshire, University of Greenwich, and University of Staffordshire. So these are some of the good, decent UK universities which feature in top 100, and they do not require work experience, nor they require the GMAT for the MBA program. So some of you are also asking me the difference between MIM and MBA in the chat. So just to give you some sense, the MIM program is similar to the MBA program. The only difference is in the class profile. So in MIM, you will have people between 0 to 3 years of work experience. And whereas an MBA will have people more than 3 years of work experience. MIM is slightly a theoretical program, whereas MBA is a more practical oriented program. So that is a difference between the MIM and the MBA. So if you are a fresher, want to take admission at a top UK university, so MIM is a good option. But if you have 6-7 years of work experience, or even 4 or 5 year of work experience, and you want to apply to UK, so then MBA is definitely the best option for you to study in the UK. As far as the work permit is concerned, from September 2020, any student who is enrolling at a UK university can stay in the UK after graduation for up to 2 years in order to look for work related to the degree of their choice. This applies to graduates of all higher education providers. So this is applicable to all the higher education providers, which is mostly the universities. And if you're a tier 4 visa, so tier 4 visa in the UK is a student visa. So any student who enrolls at a UK institution from September 2020 will be eligible to stay in the UK after graduation to find a job for 2 years. So you have full 2 years in your disposal to find a job as per the current UK rules of immigration. So that was what we had in store for you. So we will now jump on to the question and answer section. And for people who also want to have a detailed chat with any of our team members for your admission to the UK, so you can leave your name and number privately in the chat box, and we will get back to you or have someone contact you for the same. So now we will start the question and answer section. So Tanya, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi. I had 3-4 questions.
Yeah, please.
My first question was, I was looking at a master's there, and I was looking at certain colleges, for example, Imperial College. I was looking at their website that they need a 4-year graduation degree, like a 4-year bachelor's.
Yeah.
But I'm doing a BBA. So that will be which is of course only 3 years. So that will be a problem in certain colleges.
So Tanya, again, now it is a requirement only in Imperial College. No, but if you want to apply in MIM in other UK schools, so you are quite open because most of the schools do not require the 4-year degree. So you are still fine with a lot of other schools like LSC, Strathclyde, Cranfield, etc. So I'll also ask Nidhi to put in some more highlights into this. So Nidhi?
Yes, sir. So actually to add on to it, there are certain universities which are mentioned on the Imperial website. I'm not sure what program are you looking at in Imperial, but there are certain universities, if you look at in the Imperial education section, wherein there are universities from India from where they accept students from a 15 years degree as well. So you can probably check that section. If your university falls in those list of institutions, you might be eligible. If not, then I think the 4-year thing would be a criteria. So you can probably just check that section once again.
And Tanya, this is mostly for Imperial, but other universities, so you are quite fine there. So in UK, for students who don't have 4-year degrees, so they are fine to apply for masters.
Correct.
My next question was, so I'm doing a BBA currently, but I was doing engineering prior to this, and I did it for 1.5 years, and after that I left it. So would this have, say, a negative impact on my application?
For which program, Tanya?
I'm looking to do a master's or a MSc in management or an MSc in finance.
Okay. So Nidhi, would you like to answer that?
Sir, I don't think so. It's going to be a problem. Reason being, what the universities ask for. I mean, you can obviously write your reasons there in the SOPs and in that section to explain your situation as to why you had to make that shift. But what's your CGPA? If I have to ask you, like, have you already completed your BBA or you're currently pursuing it?
I'm still doing it. I've done 1.5 years, and my CGPA currently is 9.2.
Okay, okay. And 1 year, were you like, so this BBA, you're doing it for complete 3 years?
Yes, I'm doing it for all of the 3 years. I'm doing it for
all of the 3 years. So I don't think so there's going to be any problem. It's just that some kind of justification, you can probably write it in the statement of purpose, and I think that should be good to go.
Okay. My next question was, I was seeing that, for example, Oxford offers something called MSc in financial analysis. So like MSc in economics requires you to have an economics degree before.
Right.
But do you need an economics degree for MSc in finance as well?
Okay, so for these kind of specific courses, they always have some prerequisites mentioned on their website. So I'm not sure if for this program, generally, they do have a master's in finance as well, and they have 2-3 courses related to it, but you'll have to kind of check their prerequisites, whether they would accept this. But yes, there are certain courses that they would expect you to have completed in your bachelor's.
But Tanya, as a general thing, so after BBA, you are eligible to do an MSc in finance in most of the UK schools. So that is not an issue.
Okay, wonderful. And my last question, please, was you talked about undergraduate scholarships are a little difficult. Is that the same in postgraduate also?
See, scholarships in the UK are mostly for the benefit of others. So scholarships in the UK are mostly based on merit. So no, we have obviously 100% scholarships are a very rarity in the UK. But in the past, we have seen a lot of students getting scholarships between £5,000 to £10,000 from universities. But again, that is totally based on the merit of the application.
Right. So scholarships and admissions, you say, are primarily based on your merit and your LORs, yes?
It's based on your academics, your SOP, LORs, and your CV.
Okay. Got it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks. So we have Shruti. Shruti, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Shruti Sethi. Shruti?
Hi.
Yeah,
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a couple of questions. With respect to an MBA, first thing, when they say that they need 3 years of work experience, is that, do I have to have 3 years of work experience while I'm applying for it, which will usually be like a whole year before my actual intake? Or would it be 3 years at the time of entering the school?
It is 3 years till the start of the program.
Okay, so even if I have 2 years of experience, say next year, then I can start applying next year for the year after that.
Yeah. But you would need to continue working till September 21.
Okay. Got it. Second question, just to get like a brief idea, I understood like what the GMAT score and everything is for each college. But whenever you go to the website, there is usually a 700 plus on most of the UK colleges. Whereas if I see the presentation that you had made, it also had like Cranfield, for example, has 670. Manchester had somewhere around 650. So does my year of work experience also have an effect on how much should my GMAT score be? So for example, if I have a minimum year of experience, which is 3 years, would I have to have a more GMAT score to compensate?
See, again, no, especially in these top schools, they look at a holistic application. So no component will give you admission over the other. So even if we have also seen people getting with 680, 690 to LBS also. But again, it is not the factor. It is only 35% weightage is given to your GMAT score. And the 30% weightage is given to your education and your work experience. And a very important weightage of around 30 to 35% is given to your essays and LORs. So even if your GMAT score is not very high, so you can still compensate it with very good essays and letter of recommendations and extracurricular activities, especially for top schools like Oxford, Cambridge, London Business School, etc. So these are various other components which are equally given a good weightage, and they are also looked upon in the MBA application by these schools. So not only once, even if you get a 800 out of 800 and your other things are not strong, still your application will get rejected from top schools. So it's overall profile that matters, not just an individual component in the application.
And I won't be at a disadvantage where I'm coming, from a minimum of 3 years of experience, because most of the colleges, like you said, are minimum of 3. So I'm assuming that the average work experience that the people will have in that bunch will be somewhere around 7 to 8 years.
Average in
so I won't.
Is 5 to 6 years, and minimum is 3.
So even if I have a minimum of 3, that's not like a disadvantage to my case, right?
Yeah, no, it's not a disadvantage. You have to put strong emphasis on your motivation of doing an MBA. So if you can put strong emphasis in the essays and LORs, so that would do the job for you, and with a good GMAT score.
Okay. Just one last question. I've noticed that unlike the US, most of the number of years, like most of the courses of for MBA in UK is somewhere between 15 to 24 years. Sorry, 15 to 24 months.
Only London Business School has that. Rest has only 1 year.
So does the 2-year visa application apply to the MBA colleges where it is less than 2 years also?
Yeah. If you do any full-time degree from any UK university, you get a 2-year work permit.
Irrespective of the number of years of education in UK.
Yeah, irrespective of number of years, yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's it.
Okay. So we have Siddharth Srihari Kulkarni.
Hi, I'm Siddharth. So I have only one question. With your experience and previous references, what are the scope after my postgraduate doing in the UK? How easily I'll get job? What kind of jobs I would get? So I am asking this from a hotel management perspective. Thank you.
See, Siddharth, for hotel management, UK is not an ideal destination, to be true to you. So for hotel management, countries like Australia, New Zealand, Switzerland would have more chances of giving you a good education than the UK, especially as far as the hotel management is concerned.
Okay, thank you.
So we have now Arunima.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, Arunima.
Am I audible? Yeah, sir. So my question was more related to, so basically I'm interested in getting a master's in like a humanities degree, which is particularly to say something like international relations or public policy or political science. So what are the grade requirements for that?
So Nidhi, would you like to answer the question?
Yes, so for a public policy, generally, as in UK as a destination, obviously a lot of universities would require, if you're looking at the top universities, they would ask you for a more than a 7.5. So what is your grade and which university are you from?
So currently I'm in Lady Shri Ram College for Women, Delhi University, and my GPA is at a 7.64.
Okay. So in public policy, there are options like Manchester, Birmingham, Nottingham, Sussex, which are like really good universities for public policy if you look at, and I think they should be in your range.
Okay, but like what about colleges like LSC and stuff like that? Because I looked at the requirements, and the issue is with Delhi University in general, like especially I'm majoring in political science, we don't cross a certain threshold of like GPAs. So what happens?
So they evaluate accordingly, exactly. So as I mentioned earlier as well, so the universities there, they evaluate on that criteria as well. They understand that marking from a Delhi university certainly is competitive. So if you're coming with a 7.5, and obviously you'll have other factors in your profile as well. So all of that would be looked at. How strong your other factors are, like how strong your SOP is, how strong your other documents are. So those would also be looked at.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so also we are trying to take up maximum questions as we can. So if you are not able to answer your question, you can also leave your name and number in the chat box, and we will have someone speak to you on the same. So we have Evelyn. Evelyn, you can ask your question. Yeah, Evelyn.
Hello?
Yeah, Evelyn, yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I think my question is I'm looking at MSc for finance, but before this, I have a BSE in industrial engineering. Is that going to meet the requirement?
So Nidhi, would like to answer that question?
So I think it should meet a requirement for, I mean, a lot of options except a few, because as I said again as well, that there could be some prerequisites, but otherwise it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, thank you.
So we have Nakul. So Nakul, you can ask your question.
Yeah, so I want to study masters in automotive in UK. So I was wondering, how is the field and how is the education then? How are the job opportunities in UK for automotive industry?
See, automotive industry is fine, but the UK will have less number of jobs, especially automotive is concerned. So countries like US and to be true to you, countries like US and Germany, really have more better options in terms of a career or job, especially for the automobile industry is concerned.
All right, okay, thank you.
So Swarnendu.
Yes, am I audible?
Yeah, yeah.
I have 2 or 3 questions. My first question is regarding the duration. You have mentioned that the duration is 1 year for almost all the master's courses. Is it also applicable for engineering courses as well?
Yeah, even engineering courses also.
Just 1 year?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and then there was mention regarding the percentages. I mean, the percentage is like the average percentage in all the each semesters what I have obtained.
The overall percentage that you obtain in your degree, that is what is looked by the universities.
Yeah, that is what I'm talking about, the average percentage.
Yeah, yeah.
And the next thing is that I don't have till now any work experience in anywhere. So will there be any problem for applications?
To apply for master's degrees in UK, the work experience is not mandatory.
This is engineering?
Yeah, this is engineering. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that is only applicable for MBA?
Yeah, it's only applicable for MBA.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so we have now Nachiket.
Hello.
Nachiket.
Yes, sir. Actually, I wanted to know a little about the profile that we have to build. I am currently working and I have completed 1 year of work experience. So by the September 21, I'll have 2 years.
Okay.
I was hoping for MBA. So, like, what are the universities that I should consider?
So Nachiket, if you want to apply for the MBA, so I would suggest you to have at least 3 years of work experience to put you in a good stride for a UK MBA, because that is the bare minimum requirement for a lot of MBA schools. But as I mentioned in my slide, there are some 7 to 8 UK schools which do work experience also. But if you're planning to apply to top schools like Imperial, Lancaster, Manchester, Oxford, Cambridge, etc., so you should always have at least 3 years of work experience in your profile for MBA.
Alright. Without 3 years, like, my application would not be considered. Like,
no, because that's the eligibility criteria for the MBA.
Eligibility. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we have now Vaishali Bhoite.
Oh, hi. This is Abhishek. So I just wanted to know if you can provide a very similar list to the one that you provided for the masters in management, the kind of colleges, the list of colleges with the rank, with the requirements. Will it be possible to also get a list of colleges for masters in business analytics or data science?
So see, most of the, there are 2 for the benefit of the others. So, most of the rankings of UK universities, there's a website called Guardian. So Guardian and the Complete University Guide. So these are the 2 websites which are mostly referred for most of the UK courses at master's level. And as I mentioned, the percentages for top universities, it's mostly 75%. For the medium, it's around 60 to 65 or 68%. And for the other ranked universities between 55 to 60%. So you can see the rankings, and you can judge the percentage requirement for like that also. So that will give you a good idea of how to choose the university as per your percentages. Okay, then we have Ryan Doshi.
Hi, am I audible?
Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask, so I currently have almost 2 years of work experience and I'm looking for an MBA program next year. And prior to this, I have internship experience that does not coincide with my graduation. So will that internship experience be considered?
So all the experience, Ryan, which you obtain after your graduation, only that is as full-time work experience. So any experience which is during graduation or before graduation is not counted as your work experience for the applicant.
Okay. I just had one additional question. If I'm going to apply for the 2021 program, which for the normal application date, first round would be somewhere in August to September. Due to the coronavirus thing, is there any scope that these deadlines have been pushed forth, because the GMAT centers have not yet fully opened out here?
Or for September 2021?
Yeah.
For which program, Ryan?
MBA program.
See, the deadlines have still not been out. So most of the schools will be releasing the deadline in first week of July.
Okay.
You have to wait for the UK universities to release the deadlines. So most of the universities will be releasing the deadlines for September 21 by first week of July.
Okay. Thank you.
So we have Govardhan.
Hello, hi sir. So my question is, so I have experience in IT field for 3.5 years. So I'd like to do computer science program. So how is the scope after doing masters in UK, like for the IT professionals?
Okay. So Devjyoti, would you like to address that question?
Yes. So if you talk about IT and engineering, so it's good. The jobs, if you talk about the jobs, there are plenty of options you can go for. So you can say that you can, take UK as a good destination for these type of courses. So you can maybe join the schools.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we have Amaya Gadkari.
Hello.
Yeah, Amaya.
I just wanted to ask, what are the best schools for electronic stream for MS in UK?
Okay. So Amaya, best schools for MS Electronics are, you have University of Sheffield, then University of Liverpool is there. You have Leeds University, University of Nottingham, University of Glasgow. So these are some of the very good universities which have good program in electrical field.
Okay, thank you.
So we have Arshia Kaur. Arshia, you can ask your question.
Yeah, I'm thinking to pursue law in UK. So can you recommend some universities for that? Criminal law in particular.
At bachelor's level or master's level?
Bachelor's.
Okay. See, for bachelor's in law, some of the very few universities in the UK require the LNAT exam. So, but otherwise there are some universities which do not require that exam. So, Sharmishta, you would like to answer that question for Arshia?
Yes, sure. So Arshia, for law, you might have to take the entrance exam for law, like Rajan sir mentioned. As far as your question is concerned, the universities, good universities for law, Oxford is a very good university for law, even though it is very competitive. Then Nottingham is a great university for law. Then a lot of other universities like Edinburgh, King's College London, they're all offering law and they're very good for law, in UK.
And also just to add, there's also a list on the website or Google. So if you do the law from there, that university, so it is also recognized by the Bar Council of India for practice as a lawyer.
Yeah, so is it okay if I do bachelor's in India only or UK? Because it's almost same in India and UK.
So it's totally up to you, but again, it's a personal choice. But again, if you want to practice as a lawyer in India, so you can do that, because if you do law, Bachelor of Law in India, so then the UK will only have you the option to do LLM, so which is a Masters of Law.
But it would not be better if I practice in UK only, so that it will be easy to stay in for the living also.
Yeah, so you can do that. So that's what I'm saying. It's a lot of, so if you do that from a university which is recognized by Bar Council of India, so then you have both the options open. You can practice in UK also, or if you by any chance want to come back in India, so then that degree is also recognized by the Bar Council of India for you to practice also in India also.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Okay, so we have Shriram Selviraj.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. See, I'm interested in pursuing an MBA in UK. My question is, I have a total experience of around 15 years. So would that be an advantage there, or a no there in UK universities?
No, that's obviously a good advantage, Shriram, because because most of the profile of students who study in UK are between 4 years to 12 to 15 years of work experience. So if you can manage a good GMAT score, so with 15 years of work experience, you can create a good story out of it in the essays, and you will also be eligible for all the top UK universities like Oxford, Cambridge, LBS, etc. for your MBA program.
I got that. Because why I asked you specifically is to give you the background. I understand that higher experiences in US universities is not widely preferred. So I'm from that perspective, I'm just trying to clarify here whether UK universities are pro to it, or how do they look at it?
No, they are quite open to it.
They're quite okay. So open is different from an advantage. I'm just trying to clarify here. What is that?
No, by open means it's a both advantages, plus they're open to it, and it will be an advantage in your profile also.
All right. And on the GMAT side, I have another query. The GMAT scores that you've displayed for MBA programs. So
Yeah.
are those the average scores, are the lowest scores, or the minimum scores?
They are mostly the average scores.
All right. That would be all. Thank you.
So we have Janak Daswani.
Hello, yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, Janak.
Yeah, so I'm a chartered accountant and I'm a fresher, so I don't have any work experience. So I wanted to know whether articleship will count as work experience the part after graduation.
So how much articleship of yours is after graduation, and how much is during or before graduation?
1.5 years is before and 1.5 years is after graduation.
Okay, so only 1.5 years will be counted as work experience for you.
Okay, and any idea if that applies in US and Canada also?
Yeah, even in US, Canada also.
Okay, so articleship after graduation in US and Canada will be counted as work for MBA.
Yeah. It is only in India, Indian schools which they don't count after work experience, but any articleship after graduation is counted by all the world schools for the MBA.
And so now I'm planning to apply next September for the following year, for September 22. So my work experience will be counted till when? Like I'm just going to be starting work in a few days.
So by September 2022, your work experience will be around 3.5 years.
Yeah, approximately. So it won't be counted till September 21, right? Till my application.
No, it is still the start of the program.
Okay, so if I have a little bit less work experience compared to others, what are the job prospects after that? Like say I have 3 years and a lot of people will have, that also including articleship. So a lot of
job prospects will also depend on how you will fare in your degree during in the university. So if you are in a top 5% of your class, and even with your articleship experience, you will always be looked upon by the employers. So there are other factors also which will be dependent on your job acceptance by the employers worldwide.
Okay, and yeah, okay, that's about it.
Okay. So we have Meghna Ray.
Am I audible?
Yes, Meghna.
I was checking universities in the UK for my master's, 1-year MS programs in marketing and MIMs, and so I was wondering, there are some universities like Middlesex, Greenwich, Coventry. I'm not too sure about Coventry though, which offer integrated programs, 18-month programs or 15-month programs with an internship or a placement. Can you elaborate on the same?
So Meghna, a lot of universities in the UK, especially for example, University of Staffordshire, they have a 2-year masters with 1 year. No, you study and 1 year you work in the industry. So those are also good programs because you actually no, you work full time for the entire 1 year and it's a part of the curriculum. So lot of not lot, but some of the universities in UK also have that sort of a model, and it actually works for a student because it also increases the job probability or job possibility of a student of getting hired by the employers, because you will have a 1 year full-time UK experience to boast about in your profile. So those are actually good programs for students to actually study in the UK.
Okay, so like say for example, the 18-month program, which is 12 months of studying and 6 months of internship. So how are these programs paid? Like how well do they pay, or are they just internships? Because I'm sure after working for 6 months, there are chances of getting absorbed into that company or maybe, other companies, because we have UK work experience. But how is the payment for those 6 months or for that 1 year that we work?
With the kind of feedback which I have got from students, I know they have been able to earn around 700 to 800 pounds a month for the same.
Okay. And next questions, do colleges that do not ask for GRE, GMAT, many of the UK colleges, do they only look at university? Like what is their main cutoff? Just the university and the class 11 and 12 grades? Or do they have other cutoffs? Because only if I'm matching the cutoff, then they'll take interest and look at my application and LORs and work experience, etc.
Yeah, they will only look at your your percentage in 10th, 12th and bachelor's degree, because none of the universities for master's degrees in the UK require GRE or GMAT score, especially the MS programs. So they will only see your percentages that you obtain in your academics.
So what are the chances of having my application looked at or considered with low, what if I have very low GPA in college and even class 10 and 12, the marks weren't that great? So what are the chances that, my great work experience or, my great application will, do they actually give that importance to, the application and all of that?
For marketing?
For marketing, yes.
See, for example, I'll just give you an example here. So for example, if a student has a 60% in his bachelor's degree, for example, in a BBA, and he wants to apply, to, for example, University of Glasgow, just for the matter of comparison. So, even with a good SOP, his application will be rejected.
Okay. What about great work experience?
No, because for MS programs, work experience is not required. But if you have it, it's fine. But it is not a hardcore criteria. So if a person is 60% and 2 years of work experience, apply to Glasgow for MS marketing vis-a-vis a person who has a 74% in BBA. So the person with a 74% in BBA will have a higher chance to get into Glasgow than a person with 60% with 2 years of work experience.
Okay, and what about people with non-business background in graduation level for mass communication and all of that? So what is the best MS program for them, but with work experience? Because MIM, they do not acknowledge students who have more than 2 years of work experience. So what if I have 4 to 5 years of work experience, but I came from a non-business background, but I have a startup and all of that?
So you can apply for an MBA program then?
No, other than MBA? Because MBA is again very difficult to get in, like a program in entrepreneurship and all of that.
Yeah, so I was coming to that. So you can apply for a MS in international business, or an MS in entrepreneurship, MS in international marketing.
Okay, all right, that's about it. Thank you.
So we have time for a couple of more questions. So, and for others, benefit of others, if we are not able to answer your questions here, so you can leave your name and number on the chat box and we will have someone contact you on an individual basis for your questions. So we have Harshini. So Harshini, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Harshini?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, Harshini.
Can you just give an example for the Oxford University and stuff for MS in computer science? An example of what is the minimum mark to get in there? Like, what mark should I have to get into the top universities?
Okay.
For MS.
Okay. Nidhi, would you like to take that up?
Okay, so just to answer this, Harshini, there is no specific as to one point that you should have in your profile to get into Oxford. Oxford, as everybody knows, it's a pretty competitive university to get into for any master's program. So for computer science, what's your background? Is it like, could you tell me a bit about your background? Is it the same in computer science?
Yeah. I'm doing BTech in IT, information technology.
And what about the percentage that you have currently?
Till now, 9.3.
I think that's good to go ahead with, because Oxford actually expects students to have a higher percentage. GRE again, I think for this particular program might not be required. So what they're going to look at is again your higher undergrad percentage, what all you have in terms of your research, your projects, and every other factor in your profile is going to be looked at.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one more thing. So is in case if you're asked, in the sense like research or GPA, which is given higher priority? Is it the research or GPA?
That's a tough
Fortunately,
question.
it's a combination of both factors.
Combination.
But GPA will be the first point of contention, followed by the research.
That's actually one factor with, on which they that's like a first criteria on which they see the students, because any student who's from has a 70% or maybe less than that would hardly have chances to get in than a student who has more than 90%. So that is something. GPA is there, but then again, as you said, research again would definitely be taken into consideration.
Okay, thank you so much.
So we will have one last question for the day from Ayush Gaur. So Ayush, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I'm looking for MIM in UK. So yeah, what are the prospects for the jobs for MIM students after that?
Okay. So Devjyoti, you want to answer that question?
Yes, sir. So see, jobs are totally based on the student's profile and how the student performs as well. So even if there is job options, you need to be very firm on exactly what you want to do and how you want to, show yourself in front of the interviewers. So jobs would be there, because if the stay back options have been open, means there would be some jobs, but you need to, perform well.
Okay.
Okay, so with this, I would, I hope we were able to answer all your questions, and for the benefit of others, you still have some questions, so leave your number and name in the chat box, and we will answer them for you personally. And again, this is the email ID also for some of you who want to send their profiles to get assessments, so they can email at admissions@jamboreeindia.com, and we will be happy to answer you. So with this, I would like to thank each and every one of you for taking your time out on a Wednesday afternoon for coming. I hope it was a useful session for each and every one of you. And thanks to all the panelists for coming up and answering questions for the students and making it an interactive session. So with this, we would like to thank each and every one of you, and stay safe. We wish you all the best in your careers and have a good degree. So thank you very much. And with this, I will have another 2 minutes to you can type your name and numbers on the chat box, and then we will end this session for all. So thank you everyone. Bye and take care and stay safe everyone. Bye.